Chapter 11. The honey juice operation of the Seinen system. Tai Chi is divided into two Qi, Yin, and Yang, from which the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth are produced. According to rumors, the Taiji map owned by Lao Tzu has the power to calm the earth, water, fire, and wind, the power to transform Yin and Yang and the 5 elements, the power to separate the mysteries of heaven and the Tao, and the power to encompass thousands of elephants. Yin and Yang are transformed into each other, and chaos is compatible. It is indeed very compatible with his pair of eyes that contain supreme destruction and creation. Chen Sunzi decided in his heart to make the Shinwen sacrifice into the shape of a Taiji map, and to shape its shape first in the Sea of Heart. However, what surprised him was that he thought it would be very easy to practice Tai Chi with the divine rune. After all, the structure of Tai Chi was simple and far less complicated than those of tripods or treads. However, he repeatedly melted the divine runes and practiced many times, but he still failed to meet his expectations. There are always some flaws. After thinking hard for a long time, he suddenly woke up. Dao gives birth to 1, 1 gives birth to 2, 2 gives birth to 3, and 3 gives rise to all things. This Taiji diagram is both one and all things. Road to simplicity. It turned out that the most simple Taiji map on the outside contains the truth of heaven and earth, and the creation of the origin of all things. Chen Sunzi also understood that if you want to practice the Taiji map well, it is no less difficult than training the cauldron. He practiced repeatedly, engrossed himself in the exercise Tai Chi chart, and before he knew it, 2 full days had passed. In the past 2 days, even the head of Li Wenjing came. He didn't pay attention. It's finally done. Chen Sunzi opened his eyes. The light in his eyes was bright, like the dawn of the sun, and he couldn't help showing a smile. After a long period of polishing, the Taiji map has basically taken shape. Although it is not perfect, it basically meets his expectations. Yes, I have entered the realm of life spring. A wisp of fragrance floated over, and a beautiful figure in a long purple dress suddenly appeared in front of Chen Sunzi. She was tall, with a delicate face and a faint and elegant smile. You? With a faint smile, Li Wenjing was about to say something when her face changed slightly. A strange light flashed in her beautiful eyes, and she seemed a little excited. What's wrong? The tomb of the demon emperor is open. Brush. The figure of the head of Li Wenjing disappeared instantly, leaving behind Chen Sunzi with a look of astonishment. It seems that I missed this experience in Lingxu Dongtian. In the past 2 days, the tomb of the demon emperor is about to open. Chen Sunzi is a little pity. It is estimated that Ye Fan and the others have been out for several days, and it is estimated that the scriptures are almost acquired by Ye Fan. But he didn't care much. Although the Taoist scriptures were extremely precious, they were known as one of the strongest scriptures in the Lunhai realm. There were also some scriptures that were not much worse than him. It was his original purpose to see if he could sign in. Chen Sunzi knew at this moment that time was running out, but fortunately, he had already broken into the fountain of life, and the speed was greatly improved, and it was estimated that he would be able to get there sooner. The night sky was pitch black at the moment, and the stars were dotted. Chen Sunzi turned into a streamer and rushed into the distance, and then a dazzling rainbow appeared to cover him, and he slowly ascended into the air. You travel to the North Sea in the morning, and stay in Kangguyu at night. Chen Sunzi finally felt the feeling of the great magical powers in some myths and legends, although he is still far away from them. Chen Sunzi rode the Shenhong to fly to the primitive ruins. At this moment, he gained a brand new experience. The mountains and rivers, the vastness of the world, and the vastness of the world under his feet, made him feel a sense of pride in his heart. The tomb of the demon emperor is located in the depths of the original ruins. There are many cornerstones and rubble, broken walls and ruins, a barren scene. An hour later, Chen Sunzi rode the Shenhong. In order not to attract attention, he deliberately flew at a low altitude and kept approaching the tomb of the demon emperor. I'm late. Chen Sunzi's face turned black. He found that in front of the demon emperor's tomb, there were already many strong men fighting in chaos, and they couldn't see their bodies clearly. Only some dazzling rays of light were floating there. He knew that according to the original records, it was the demon emperor's tomb that had attracted many forces, and the main contending forces were the Holy Land of Fluctuating Light, the Ji family of the ancient aristocratic family, and a group of more than a dozen beautiful girls from the holy land of Yaokai who passed by to watch the show. Boom! The beam is soaring, and the heat wave is soaring. A corner of the demon emperor's tomb was opened, but then, the terrifying aura also permeated instantly, making Chen Sunzi tremble and trembling slightly. Chen Sunzi guessed that Yafan didn't know which corner he was obsessed with. Ding! It is detected that the environment is too bad. The sign-in task of the Tomb of the Demon Emperor has been cancelled. Suddenly, in my mind, there was such a voice. Chen Sunzi. Chen Sunzi was stunned. Can the system still operate like this? After confirming again and again, I found that the sign-in Demon Emperor task was indeed cancelled. This system is really strange. Unlike the coquettish construction system of the novels I have seen before, you must complete related tasks and the like, otherwise it will be punished, and it will always threaten to obliterate the host. Strange. System boss, why is there a sudden curve? Chen Sunzi tried to communicate with the system, but unexpectedly, the system actually responded, which made him very surprised. You must know that apart from the previous sign-in task, how Chen Sunzi asked him questions did not respond to him. He is like a cold program, mechanically issuing various tasks, but now he has replied to him for the first time, and the content of the reply is also very simple, even making Chen Sunzi speechless. Life first, sign-in second. The system is still a person who understands. Chen Sunzi felt that it was really intelligent. If it continues to develop like this, I wonder if it will be able to communicate with the system like a human after a few years, or become an adult. He has a bold idea in his mind. Chen Sunzi's eyes suddenly lit up. Yu reading www.uukansha.com. How sharp his pupils are. He noticed that there was a ray of sunshine rushing over in the distance, with a gorgeous green light. It seems to be a spiritual treasure in the tomb of the Demon Emperor. Hey! A luminous green short sword sank into an ancient tree not far from Chen Sunzi, which made Chen Sunzi instantly happy. Good thing. His palms glowed, and he slightly used the divine power of the Sea of Bitterness. He held the dagger in his hand and pulled it out. There was a precious light on it, and the hilt was engraved with complex patterns. At first glance, it was not ordinary. Pick up leaks. Holding the sharp dagger, he couldn't put it down, and was about to leave when a burst of laughter came. Ha ha ha. A fat Taoist priest with a red face rushed over with Shenhong. Although his body was slightly fat and bloated, he was very flexible and fell like fallen leaves. I didn't expect that day's good fortune came, and he even caught a psychic weapon. Are these children related to me? He rushed over and was about to grab it from Chen Sunzi's hand, but Chen Sunzi's heavy pupils started to work again, and his eyes actually slowed down the fat Taoist priest's movement speed. He was able to flexibly dodge, which is also the basic function of the heavy pupil, which can slow down the opponent's movement speed. No matter how flexible the speed is, in his eyes, it is like a snail, and he can dodge easily and gracefully. Seeing Chen Xuanyi dodging, he was slightly surprised, then a very kind smile appeared on his fat face and grabbed it forward again, and said, "Child, this is a murder weapon, you can't grasp it, give way. Come, Daddy." Chapter 12, Pit the unscrupulous fat Taoist priest. Unsurprisingly, the fat Taoist fluttered in the air. Again, because Chen Sunzi used his heavy pupil again to capture his trajectory, which was extremely slow. Immeasurable, what a goddess. The fat Taoist slammed into the air and fell to the ground, looking at Chen Sunzi with a secret smile. Unscrupulous Taoist Duanda. Chen Sunzi suddenly remembered that the unscrupulous fat Taoist priest in front of him was from Hisu. The fat Taoist stood up nimbly, patted the soil on his body, and was a little embarrassed. He said, "I also met a kid who was almost injured by a murderous soldier. Thanks to my timely action to resolve it, the other party is grateful to me. How can you be so ignorant, dear? Give me this short sword, and I will solve the crisis for you." The fat Taoist weaving lies is very natural. His face is flushed. He is very brazen, and he never catches his breath when telling lies. Chen Sunzi was speechless at what happened to Yafan. He naturally knew that the unfortunate person who was taken away by the fat Taoist Duanda was Yafan himself. And the reason why Yafan was in the place where he got the spiritual treasures one after another was because the cornucopia of the demon princess Yenryu attracted them. I didn't expect this fat man to move so fast. He was so fast, and he was actually eyeing him. Really, I don't believe it. Chen Sunzi's face is only about 12 years old now. His face is immature, like a porcelain doll, and he looks very simple. Of course it's true. Duan Fatty rolled his eyes, took out a dagger that glowed all over his body, and said, "Look, this is the murderous soldier. I have already surrendered." It happened. At this moment, many powerhouses in the distance launched an earth-shattering blow. The vast divine power poured down like a 9-day galaxy, and the ocean-like energy waves swept the entire sky. Boom! The last blow of several terrifying powerhouses finally shattered the tomb of the demon emperor, and a monstrous demonic energy erupted, releasing the cruelty to 10 directions. Immeasurable, such a goddess. A demonic energy swept in, and the wind whistled past. Fatty Duan, who was in front of Chen Xian, was staggered back by the wind, and the dagger in his hand also fell out of his hand and fell to the ground. Good chance. Chen Sunzi's eyes were fast and his hands were fast. He leaped like a civet cat, very vigorous and soulful. He grabbed the psychic dagger, and smiled from ear to ear, very happy. "Little fatty, you can't control this dagger, so let me come. This dagger of yours is a murderous thing. It hasn't been fully cured yet. Let me help you degree, as the saying goes. If I don't go to hell, who will go to hell?" What a... The fat Taoist wanted to vomit blood, but he wanted to take out a dagger. Just now to disturb the other party's mind, and he wanted to grab the treasure while he was in chaos. He didn't expect a gust of wind to blow, and in just this moment, his treasure came out of his hand and let the other party take it away. And this little brat returned the words in return, with a look of revenge, which made him grit his teeth. Seeing the gritted face of the fat Taoist priest, Chen Sunzi's eyes rolled, and he dared to trick the fat man for a reason. When he just showed his weapon, he saw that the head and several elders had already come. "Master Sunzi, why are you here?" Li Wenjing, the head of beauty, saw Chen Sunzi just now. Originally, he came this time to share a piece of the pie, but when the people from the Holy Land and the ancient family came, he became a tool man completely. He was about to leave, but he didn't. Thinking of meeting Chen Sunzi quickly hid behind the head of the beauty, and the fat Taoist priest jumped in anger, but seeing the crowd of people on Chen Sunzi's side, he was also a little embarrassed. "Whose child is this? Let him return the lingbao to me." The psychic treasures are obtained by those who are destined to get them, and the Taoist friends have a picture. Sect leader Li Wenjing stood up and spoke lightly, with a touch of undoubtedness in his tone, making it clear that he was protecting the calf. This. Feeling the powerful aura emanating from the head of Li Wenjing, the fat Taoist Duanda was a little frightened, but a little unwilling. "Does your excellency want to be my enemy in the holy land of fluctuation light?" An old woman spoke lightly. Her voice was very hoarse, but her tone was high and indifferent. "Flutter light." The fat Taoist priest's face was cloudy and sunny, and he glanced at Chen Sunzi. He didn't expect that this little brat had such a big background and turned out to be a person from the holy land of flushing light. He is not hesitating anymore. So many people are here. He is directly cowardly, but he can't do it. Anyway, his lingbao also came from others, and he is not particularly distressed, so he is very decisive, and quickly slipped away, running faster than rabbit is faster. After hearing that Chen Sunzi obtained the spiritual treasure, the Taoist priest wanted to seize the treasure, but Chen Sunzi took away the others' spiritual treasure instead, and everyone felt speechless for a while. The head of Li Wenjing hurriedly introduced him to the old woman in black with white hair, wrinkled skin, and her teeth were about to fall, who was the one who spoke just now. Chen Sunzi saluted and found out that she was actually a young elder in the holy land of fluctuation. Chen Sunzi knew that even a little elder would have a very respectable position in Lingxu Dongtian. After all, holy land of flushing light was a real behemoth. Although there has never been a great emperor, it is also extremely bright and has an extremely deep foundation. Haha, don't be polite, this child Shenhua is introverted and quite clever. At first glance, he is a good seedling of cultivation. He is born with heavy pupils. Must not. The old woman did not hesitate to praise Chen Sunzi. She was full of praise for Chen Sunzi, and kept looking at Chen Sunzi, and she looked a little hairy. "Well, I hope that after you enter the Holy Land, you will practice diligently and forge ahead all the time. If you have success in your cultivation, you will be a follower of the Son of God." Li Wenjing was happy when she heard the words and looked at Chen Sunzi, while Chen Sunzi was a little scared. Lingshu Dongtian was considered to be one of the affiliated forces of the Holy Land of Fluctuation. I learned that I wanted to go to Lingshu Dongtian with Chen Sunzi, but I didn't expect Chen Sunzi to come here, which was a pleasant surprise. Chen Sunzi was speechless. Did this count as actively hitting the muzzle? At the beginning, I was thinking of taking a step-by-step, and I wouldn't be able to be noticed so quickly. I first practiced in Lingshu Cave for a while, but I didn't expect that it had been noticed by the people in the Holy Land of Fluctuating Light. Sect Masterly, you have cultivated a good seedling. This time I will remember one of your great achievements. Chen Sunzi felt a little cold, sweat overflowing, and he suddenly thought that the Holy Son of Fluctlight seemed to be a rather terrifying character. He himself is a mortal body, but he is the inheritor of the ruthless Emperor. He has the indestructible heaven art and swallowing devil art of the ruthless great Emperor, but he will swallow all kinds of constitutions. Nothing will end well. After all, the Holy Son of Yaoguang is not a good man and a woman. He has a deep mind and extraordinary strength. In the middle and late stages of Jishan, he has transformed into an acquired chaotic body. Chen Sunzi looked at Li Wenjing's head with a happy face, and sighed inwardly. Sure enough, almost no one in the world treats you well for no reason. Li Wenjing treats him well, although it is sincere, but it also contains more or less the performance component of cultivating talents and beautiful jade for the Holy Land. However, Chen Sunzi can also understand, and he is still grateful to her. It is estimated that Li Wenjing, the leader of this level, does not know what kind of terrifying exercises the gentle and elegant Yaoguang Holy Son is rumored to practice. This place is too terrifying. We can't intervene. Hurry up and leave. I'll take this child away first. Li Wenjing nodded and gave Chen Sunzi an encouraging smile, while Chen Sunzi sighed inwardly. Chen Sunzi's back felt cold, and now he is going to the Holy Land of Fluctuation? The old woman greeted Chen Sunzi over. Chen Sunzi moved his footsteps, his mind moved, and he saw that not far ahead, there was a rule of Dao mark circulating, which was captured by him. With a burst of inspiration, he pretended to walk over inadvertently. The old woman looked at her and smiled, but then her expression instantly froze. Chen Sunzi stepped into the Daoan, and his figure disappeared in this world, and no trace of him could be found anymore. Chapter 13, The First Battle of the Northern Territory. As if in a hurry, and like 10 lives and 10 lives, Chen Sunzi opened his eyes again, and the scene in front of him was very different. The boundless land is extremely distant and empty, with no sign of life, only some bare rocky mountains dotted on the horizon. This is a barren land, with no life, no people in sight, and a lifeless image. This is where Chen Sunzi was puzzled. He probably estimated that he had reached a new place, and the scene in front of him was probably no longer in the eastern wasteland. Before, in the primitive ruins, he deliberately stepped into the teleportation Dao pattern inscribed in the mountains and rivers, thus forming some kind of god's potential, allowing him to be teleported to such a barren area. Finally out of the way, Chen Sunzi breathed a sigh of relief and temporarily escaped the danger of going to the Holy Land of Yaoguang. He just thought of Li Wenjing's head, and sighed again. Forget it, if there is a chance to repay her in the future, he thought to himself. Now we need to find a populated place, figure out what it is, and plan what to do next. After walking for 2 whole days, he didn't even see a single person. This barren land seemed like a dead place, without people. Finally, on the 3rd day, he met a cultivator and slapped him in the mouth. He learned that this place was already in the eastern desolate Northern Territory. No wonder. The Northern Territory is boundless, and it is famous all over the world because of the abundance of stores and mines. Compared with the vast land, it is indeed sparsely populated, and most places are deserted. But when Chen Xuanyi came over, he didn't find any source ores. There were only a few people, and it was completely barren. According to the original record, this place is so desolate because there are too many sources, in order to condense the essence of heaven and earth and absorb the spiritual energy between heaven and earth. Just as he was thinking of finding a place to settle down as soon as possible, an accident happened. Chen Sunzi could see from afar, and on the ground in the distance, smoke and dust were everywhere. 5 or 6 people, vicious people, were all riding on the wild beasts. This is a group of powerful knights, with blood all over their bodies, and they don't have to think about it to know that they once murdered Ying Yi, gathered unimaginable killing intent, and blood shone around them. Rogue. Chen Sunzi was shocked. After so many days, he finally saw the most famous rogues in the Northern Territory, except for Yuan, who exclusively depended on looting for a living. Their power composition was extremely complex, not only from the eastern wilderness, but even from the northern plains. And the homeless in Zhongzhou, even many holy places are very troublesome to them. 7 or 8 savage beasts were as fast as the wind, raising the dust all over the sky, and instantly came to Chen Sunzi. Hey, boy, hand over the treasure on your body, and spare you not to die. You have the wrong person. Chen Sunzi was speechless, but he actually robbed him, making him very speechless. And he really had no source. You lie, although you are a little weird. It seems that this thin-skinned and tender-looking person doesn't look like those poor and hard workers who harvest the source, but rather like some big family sons. There must be treasures. If you don't give it, we'll take it ourselves. A man with a scarred face sneered when he heard the words, held the reins tightly, and rode the wild beast. Chen Sunzi sighed when he heard the words, and immediately took off his dark sunglasses, revealing a pair of heavy pupils that contained supreme mystery. He jumped away immediately, very agile, out of the range of the savage beast, and at the same time, his body was full of blood and energy, and he began to run divine power. Immediately afterwards, a pair of pupils looked at the past indifferently. At this moment, his divine power was boiling in the sea of suffering. His eyes were as bright as golden lamps, and the terrifying energy contained in them was constantly gathering. The scarred-faced man looked over, and his heart palpitated suddenly. Those weird eyes were so terrifying, as if they were about to shred his soul, causing him to sweat coldly on his back. The light flickered like a beam of energy, tear apart the world, with a sense of destruction, extremely terrifying. Ow! The savage beast roared up to the sky. He was hit by the energy beam, and it roared in pain, his entire face contorted. Boom! An astonishing thing happened, and time seemed to freeze at that moment. The 5-meter-long savage beast started from the forehead in the air. The entire body was divided into 2 by Chen Sunzi's heavy pupils. Together with the scarred man sitting on the savage beast, it was cut into 2 halves by the terrifying energy beam. The 2 corpses were extremely smooth and flat, as if they had been cut by a machine, and fell on the ground, with blood flowing like a stream, dyeing the yellow sand on the ground red. Between lightning and flint, a rogue was killed on the spot, and the death was very uneasy. He is only one person, don't be afraid. The remaining rogues, one by one, roared forward in shock and anger, very sad and angry, and wanted to kill him here. Chen Sunzi was not in a hurry at the moment, very calm. He didn't know why, but he didn't feel any discomfort when he first started. During the battle, he seemed to be a little too calm. In the face of the offensive, a pair of Taiji diagrams were displayed on his body, and the yin and yang flow was extremely mysterious. It was suspended above his head, and a mysterious aura hung down to protect him. I don't know whether to live or die. I will send you back to the west. Chen Sunzi stretched his fists and feet. The light in his eyes was radiant. His divine power was like the sea, and his whole person also entered a mysterious rhythm. A rogue turned a sledgehammer and killed it. The sledgehammer flashed purple light, and it made a sound of wind and thunder, and the momentum was terrifying. The rays of light in his pupils flowed, and the opponent's speed was slowed down a lot in an instant, bending down to avoid a round of sledgehammers. At the same time, his palms and fingers glowed with a faint golden light. He jumped up, and his golden fists exploded like the sun, punching through the opponent's chest. The man watched in disbelief as a fist-sized hole appeared in the front and back. His eyes gradually dimmed, and then he fell heavily to the ground. The third one. The 3 of them cried out in grief, and came to besiege them, together with various weapons. Almost. Chen Sunzi's eyes were flowing, and terrifying energy was gathering. It seemed that one star after another was turning. This time, it was even more terrifying than before. What? Those few people met his gaze, and their whole bodies trembled violently. They hadn't been attacked before, they only felt that their souls were about to sink. 2 golden lights burst out from the pupils, turning into 2 golden dragons, the ends connected to each other in the air, and finally turned into a pair of golden dragon scissors. The 3 of them were so frightened that their hearts were split, and they turned around and wanted to run away. This person with strange pupils was too terrifying to be able to match. Can't go. Chen Xuanzi's indifferent voice sounded cold and secluded like a devil who pronounced death sentence. The golden dragon scissors flew out of the sky, and even automatically searched for the automatic trajectory of those few people. This made the three of them turn pale with fright. Unexpectedly, this young man could control such magical powers and be able to automatically pursue. Crack, crack, crack. 3 voices came, people turned their heads and beasts turned, blood was pouring. At this moment, the 5 major bandits were all killed. Chen Xuanzi breathed a sigh of relief. The first time he used the innate magical technique to kill an enemy, he had such an effect, which made him very satisfied. It's time to lick the bag. Chen Xuanzi guessed that there are many good things for rogues who make a living by robbing homes. Just as I was about to lick the bag, a sudden whimper came from a sack. Chapter 14, Girl from West Desert. Well, someone. Chen Xuanzi was curious at the moment. His eyes flashed with golden light, and then there was a trace of chaotic energy, and he looked into the sack. I saw a young girl tied up. Her hands and feet were tied, and her mouth was covered with cloth. Chen Xuanzi hesitated a little, opened the sack, and untied the girl as well. Her grandmother is choking her to death. After the girl was untied, she took a few deep breaths of fresh air, and then she couldn't help but scolded in a low voice. Her eyebrows were raised, and her expression was a bit gnashing. Did you save me? The girl raised her head, revealing a pretty and bright face. Her eyes were large, her eyelashes were very long, and she looked very aura. Her neck was as beautiful as a white swan. Graceful, perfect. She was very surprised that the boy in front of her rescued her boy, but he was only about 13 years old, and he was able to kill those vicious rogues. Chen Xuanzi glanced at him in surprise and nodded. Why did such a pretty girl come to this ghost place and be captured by the rogue? But he didn't think much about it. After he untied the sack, he began to search for the treasure on the rogue. Now, in addition to some gold and silver, several stones of similar size were also found. The few stones were pale yellow, about as thick as a thumb and as long as a knuckle. Although it was a small piece, it was very heavy to start with. Chen Xuanzi could clearly feel a vigorous vitality contained within it. According to ancient records, in the era when heaven and earth were in harmony to create all things, the vegetation was prosperous, the living beings were extremely powerful, the elixir was endless, and many sources were formed, which were as crystal clear as amber, but there was a large amount of life essence sealed inside. Presumably this is the source. Thank you so much. The girl's eyes were bright, and she smiled lightly, revealing 2 small dimples. Chen Xuanzi nodded. His expression was very indifferent, and he didn't say much. He turned his head and continued to study the stone in his hand, then turned and left to save her, just doing it smoothly, and he didn't have any idea of repaying the other party. Seeing Chen Xuanzi turn around and leave, the girl couldn't help being stunned, and she stayed in place for a while. Ben Gong, wait. The girl was stunned for a moment, then reacted immediately, shouting behind him, her voice like an aureole, very clear and sweet. Chen Xuanzi turned a deaf ear, and continued to move forward, as if he did not hear the call. He clearly knew that sometimes, people are the biggest trouble, and should not be easily provoked. A young girl who accidentally fell into the hands of a rogue, how many complicated stories will be hidden behind it? He dare not imagine that there must be huge troubles in it. When the rescued girl saw that Chen Xuanzi ignored him, her expression was stunned, and then she felt a little sad, but her mind turned back and forth, stumped her feet, and quietly followed Chen Xuanzi's footsteps. Is something wrong? Chen Xuanzi turned his head. This girl was not in the realm of bitterness, and this little gesture naturally couldn't deceive him. I haven't repaid my benefactor yet. Oh, in this vast northern territory, how do you want to repay a man and a woman alone? Chen Xuanzi's eyes were deep, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he said with great interest, under the surprised eyes of the girl, he actually lit a cigarette, looking nonchalant. As he said that, his eyes were still deliberately looking at the graceful figure of the girl, trying to scare her away on purpose. The girl's face changed slightly, her arms were wrapped around the front of her body, and there was a little bit of vigilance in her big eyes full of aura. Chen Xuanzi smiled, flicked the soot, and walked away. In Gong, I see that you have double holes in your eyes. It seems that you have a disease. My family's ancestors are famous doctors from generation to generation, and they are famous in the West Desert. If I let my father take action, it will definitely make you heal. The girl actually followed her again. She seemed to have overcome her fear and came over, like an oriole, chattering non-stop, and most of all she was a talker. Chen Xuanzi's mouth twitched slightly, and he was speechless. But he still seemed to care about him, so he didn't know what to say. Chen Xuanzi secretly speeded up, but he didn't expect that the girl could keep up with him. It seemed that his footwork was quite clever, and he was not good at flying here, so he couldn't help but feel a headache. The little girl is alone. If she can safely reach the holy land of Yaokai, she will definitely be grateful. After talking for a long time, the girl was about to cry when she saw that Chen Xuanzi had no response. Sister, it seems that you are older than me, Chen Xuanzi complained in his heart. According to his physical age, he was only about 13 years old, and he was 2 or 3 years younger than the woman. He also knew in his heart that the woman had been following him, probably because she was afraid of encountering rogues again. She kept following him to repay her kindness, and did not take the initiative to ask him for shelter. Probably because she was afraid of causing his disgust. Sure enough, there are still more smart people in this world. Chen Xuanzi thought to himself. Ding, the new sign in place is refreshed, Yaokai Holy Land. Chen Xuanzi was shocked. Since the registration of the Demon Emperor tomb was cancelled, a new task was finally refreshed, and he became a little excited. The address of this jade pond is located in the Eastern Wilderness North Territory. It seems that I have to go to Jade Pond and have a goal. Wait, just now Chen Xuanzi seemed to have heard that the girl was going to Yaokai. This seems to serve as a breaking point into Yaokai. There was a smile like a spring breeze on his face, and he actually started talking. You said you were going to Yaokai. Have you been to Yaokai before? No. The girl's eyes were a little surprised, and she didn't know why Chen Xuanzi's attitude suddenly began to change, making her face a trace of unnaturalness. Then why did you go to Yaokai? After some conversation, reading www.uukangsha.com, Chen Xuanzi learned that the girl named Daikyo came from that vast land, the Western Desert. Western Desert, that is a huge area that is almost the same as the Eastern Wasteland. Even if you fly with a rainbow, it will take more than 30 years to travel between the two places. You can imagine the distance between the two places, and this girl actually came from such an area. Daichu told him that she was sent by his family to the teleportation array to come to this area, and the purpose was to join the practice of Yaokai Holy Land. And the reason why she landed in the rogue gathering place in the Northern Territory was that the teleportation array seemed to malfunction for some reason, causing her to lose contact with an elder in the family. No wonder. Chen Xuanzi's heart was clear, his mind was very delicate, and he deduced that her expression did not seem to be fake. No wonder she was in the realm of bitterness, and she dared to walk on this land with many robbers and bandits. I'll go with you. Daichu never imagined that Chen Xuanzi's face changed so quickly, and he seemed to be ignoring just now, but now he actually invited her. Originally, she planned to quietly follow Chen Xuanzi to a safe place, and then leave alone to go to the holy land of Yaokai. In this way, she was also happy to agree. Although she didn't know what this man was going to do in Yaokai, but she was also very smart and didn't ask much. Then the two of them drove for an hour, and they were a little tired, and their pace gradually slowed down. Chen Xuanzi habitually took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth. Just now, he got a lot of treasure from licking the rogue, and he exchanged a lot of cigarettes. Seeing Chen Xuanzi's expression of enjoyment, Daichu was a little puzzled. What is this thing? Can you get me one? Chapter 15, Purple Chi comes from the east, and the Yaokai vibrates? Hearing this, Chen Xuanzi was a little surprised. He really didn't expect that the person who smoked for the first time in this world was actually a pretty girl. Chen Xuanzi handed over a cigarette and lit her on fire. Daichu was also very smart. According to Chen Xuanzi's appearance, it didn't take long for him to have learned a decent way, like an old smoking gun. In this world, they are all practitioners. The so-called smoking is harmful to health. For them, that poison does not exist at all. In the ordinary mortal world, these two looks like typical bad boys and girls. Having said that, with the improvement of his cultivation, Chen Xuanzi rarely smoked. After all, when he was practicing, It was very pleasant to enter that empty and slightly drunk state, which was much better than smoking. Otherwise, why are those powerful practitioners who may be in retreat for decades? If they are not immersed in the mysteries of the natural and mysterious scriptures, how can they be so happy? Ordinary people really can't imagine their happiness. And now, Chen Sunzi still smokes one from time to time, and the reason is very simple. He misses the lost youth under the sunset. However, the beautiful girl in front of her was holding a cigarette in her slender and white jade hands. Her pretty face was slightly red, and the look of puffing up clouds made Chen Sunzi feel a little weird. In this way, it didn't take long for the two to hit the road again and rushed to the holy land of Yaokai. Fortunately, no rogues appeared again along the way. If there are rogues with terrifying strength and high levels of robbery, their situation will undoubtedly be very dangerous. Not long after, many stone houses made of mountains and rocks appeared on the open and boundless land, and there were also some figures. There was also a source mine, and many source miners were coming in and out, with a look of exhaustion on their faces. It's also an old scalper who works under the blessings of the major holy places. Chen Sunzi sighed a little and couldn't help but think that the northern mining area has a long history. Many years ago, many mining areas have been divided up by some holy places and ancient families. Because the source of monks is to monks, just like mortals are to coins, these mining areas are undoubtedly an important source of huge consumption of holy places and ancient families. As for these mining areas in the Northern Territory, the most famous one is the ancient mine of Taishu, which is one of the 7 forbidden areas of life in the eastern wilderness. After all, it's unknown inside. Chen Sunzi knew that there were a lot of ancient emperors who were sleeping here, and that there were 1 or 2 of the 7 forbidden areas of life. Yaokai Holy Land. The holy mountain is towering into the clouds, the waterfalls and springs, the misty mist, the beautiful Kyangla and the jade, and the Fij Liudan accompanied by the hazy fairy energy, which is very magnificent. Like a fantasy, the beauty is so ethereal that it is not real. After Chen Sunzi and Daiqiu made the announcement, they stopped and waited, and vaguely noticed that from time to time above the pavilion, the faint sound of playing the piano could be heard from the pavilion. With fairy music fluttering, people can't help but indulge in it. It is worthy of being a holy place. This weather is worthy of being one of the top forces in the eastern wilderness. Compared with him, Lingxu Dongtian is like a chicken coop. Chen Sunzi sighed in his heart. A holy place that has been passed down for a long time is indeed extraordinary, indeed a behemoth. Suddenly, Chen Sunzi felt something. His eyes opened and closed, and the light began to flow, like an ancient portal slowly opening, filled with mist. At this moment, the mountains and rivers, the pavilions, and the pavilions were scattered in his eyes. A mysterious engraving is intertwined, and his whole person seems to be in the perspective of God, looking down on it all. Those beautiful buildings and the misty white mist are no longer beautiful scenery after another, but a mysterious pattern of Tao and Li, Fu Yun, the realm of nature. Each returns to its source. What's wrong with you? Daiqiu, who was on the side, saw that Chen Sunzi's expression was a little strange, as if he had accidentally fallen into an illusion, and was so immersed that he could not extricate himself. Don't interrupt him, he seems to be in some kind of epiphany. A beautiful and flawless woman appeared, with a strange color in her beautiful eyes, covering her body like a moonlight, like a fairy flower spitting out her core. Her whole person was hazy, and the whole person could not see the real thing, but it gave people a feeling of flawless. The graceful and jade body, slender and colorful, is shrouded in Chinese barnyard, as if standing in a vast cold palace, holy and distant, with a sense of misty and hazy. The realm of nature. Chen Xian murmured consciously, his mind concentrated to observe everything, and his body was also quietly changing. When that mysterious state faded, Chen Sunzi came back to his senses. This time, he had gained a great deal. The double pupil was really mysterious, and it could actually help him analyze the distribution of the Holy Land and gain insight into the mysterious texture of nature. At this moment, Chen Sunzi's sea of suffering has opened up to almost the size of a fist, and a cold rainbow hangs high above the sky. Traversing the sky, he finally formed a small section of divine veins, hanging above the sea of suffering. He became a bridge realm monk. This is really unbelievable. After communicating with the fountain of life, in just 1 month, he formed a divine vein and reached the realm of the divine bridge. Ding! Arrived at Yaokai Holy Land. Do you sign in? Just when I arrived at the realm of Shenxiao, the system's prompt sound came. Sign in. He didn't hesitate. Ding! The sign-in is successful, and you will receive an 8-star reward, Hongmang Purple Chi. Call out. In an instant, purple clouds condensed in the sky, and the length of them was not known for thousands of miles. The light of peace and auspiciousness gathered in groups, and soon filled the entire Yaokai Holy Land. What happened? Is it the Queen Mother? Her old man has broken through the realm, thank God. My Yaokai is going to be very happy, and there is such a lucky sign. Ziaichi is coming. Someone wants to be sanctified. For a time, many monks in Yaokai Holy Land were alarmed, got up one after another, walked outside, and looked up at the gorgeous beauty of the sky. The saintess of Yaokai floated like an immortal, her beautiful eyes flowing with a divine light, staring at Chen Sunzi. Her heart was up and down, and she was very restless. It was a teenager who caused the vision. Soon the news came, and many Yaokai female cultivators rushed over to see what was going on. Chen Sunzi was surrounded by purple chi at this moment, and at the moment when the purple chi fell, he unexpectedly fell into enlightenment again. Chen Xian's appearance is very delicate, and surrounded by purple energy, he appears to be incomparably ethereal and agile, like a young immortal who is immortal and will fly away at any time. At this moment, his eyes were tightly closed, and his body naturally revealed a natural and mysterious meaning, which made everyone's faces extremely shocked. This is exactly, looking at Yaokai from the west and descending the Queen Mother, and coming from the east into the porch, enter enlightenment twice in a row. This is a born god. Many people were talking about it, and their expressions were extremely excited. They all thought that they had witnessed the birth of the holy miracle with their own eyes. What many Yaokai female cultivators could not have imagined happened. I saw that in the Yaokai in the center of the Yaokai Holy Land, the gentle essence of water was constantly gathering, first turning into a trickle, then the trickle spread out, and turned into energy. The light of essence merged into Chen Sunzi's eyebrows. Chapter 16, the goddess scattered the flowers, and the earth swarmed the golden lotus. At this moment, in the open space in the center of the Yaokai Holy Land, there are a lot of exotic flowers and plants around it, and there are palaces surrounding it. In the central area, the spiritual energy is dense and the colors are flowing. There is a lake in it, which is hazy. This is the holy lake of Yaokai, and Yaokai is also named after it. Although it is not the original place that was sealed, but the Yaokai that was moved to a new area, it is also extremely extraordinary. Yaokai is located in the center of the mountain in the center of Yaokai Holy Land. According to rumors, the water of Yaokai is a holy water that is naturally brewed, and the holy water has the effect of healing the bones of the dead. More importantly, as the representative of the Holy Land, Jade Pond continuously nurtures the spiritual energy of the entire Holy Land. It can be said that, apart from the excellent geographical location and the rich spiritual energy, 50% of the more refined spiritual energy is brought by the Tian Quan in Yaokai. Drinking the water in this pond for a long time, mortals can prolong their life, and the monks have better effects. Yaokai women are holy and come out of the dust, which is related to this, and can slowly improve their physique. After dozens of hundreds of years, their bodies are flawless and flawless. The coach medicine will also come to the door to ask for water to practice medicine. At the beginning, the hometown of Yaokai of the Queen Mother of the West, the first generation to create the Holy Land of Yaokai, has been sealed because it is unknown, and later moved to the new Yaokai because of the beauty of Zhongling and Yuxiu here, and the possession of this Tianquan Holy Pond, which contains the power of good fortune, was decided down. But now, the pond water, which was regarded as a fetish by everyone in the Yaokai Holy Land, actually took the initiative to lead it into Chen Sunzi's eyebrows. Many disciples of Yaokai couldn't help frowning. The water of the holy lake in Yaokai is extremely precious. People who are not from holy places, and they absorb holy water without the consent of their holy places, naturally make them a little dissatisfied. Although they have the resources of gods and people, but after all, they are not people from their holy land, so naturally they have some grudges in their hearts. Although the people of Yaokai have always advocated indifference to the world, but their own things are taken without notice, which is called robbing. But they had no choice but to report to the contemporary Queen Mother of the West. The Saintess of Yaokai turned around and came out not long after. The Queen Mother said that the creation of heaven and earth has a predestined law. The Saintess of Yaokai had picturesque brows and spoke lightly. Everyone looked shocked, and the meaning revealed by these words was obvious, indicating that the Holy Land gave this young man a chance and would not interfere. Everyone is also a smart person, and they also understand that this young man is born with the talent of a genius, can cause the purple energy to come. It must be extraordinary, and it may not be impossible to form a good relationship with him. Although the water of the jade pond is extremely precious, a young man with a natural talent like a is even more extraordinary. Besides, let him absorb as much as he can. How much he can absorb. A young man in the Lunhai realm, no matter how terrifying his appearance is, he should have a degree. In an attic in the depths of the clouds, the contemporary Queen Mother of the West is sitting on the throne, wearing 9 golden steps on his head, wearing a white-sleeved Liaxian skirt, elegant and dignified. He also pays attention to Chen Sunzi at this moment. His face is shocked. The pure energy of Tianqi is transformed into torrents of energy, flowing into Chen Sunzi's eyebrows continuously, like a trickle, flowing into the eyebrows from all directions. Small lake. Chen Sunzi didn't realize it. At this moment, his spiritual sense has improved a lot, and his 5 senses have become extremely sharp. The Queen Mother of the West looked a little shocked and laughed, but she couldn't laugh anymore. Half an hour later, the boy with heavy eyes in front of him was still absorbing the energy of the water. She was surprised to find that the accumulation of the pond water for thousands of years had actually decreased by 1%. She had known that the jade pond had been used for hundreds of years, including outsiders, without such a large loss. Fortunately, after using almost 1% of the Yaokai essence energy, the young man finally stopped absorbing it. The transparent little lake between Chen Sunzi's brows has calmed down, bottomless, introverted, very amazing. However, the purple air in the sky is mighty, and the clouds do not disperse for a long time. At the same time, the managers of the major holy mines not far from the northern territory saw this scene above the sky, and they were horrified, and quickly passed the news of the Yaokai Holy Land to their respective Holy Land sects. What do you see that is? A Yaokai female disciple with sharp eyes suddenly said to a few female cultivators next to her, and everyone looked sideways. I saw Chen Sunzi's surrounding earth. A golden lotus flower slowly appeared, very miraculous, not waiting for everyone to be surprised, and the second one appeared, and then the third and fourth under the gathering of spiritual energy in the sky. The flowers appear one after another. Golden lotus surges? But it was far more than that. At the feet of Chen Sunzi, dozens of golden lotuses all bloomed in an instant. The golden light was flowing, the brilliance was a little bit, and the beauty was dazzling to the extreme. Immediately afterwards, everyone heard a faint chanting coming from the sky again, like the sound of Taoism hidden in the void, just like nothingness, but it was deafening. Immediately after the day-in was over, a burst of fairy music followed. In the void, people could faintly say that there seems to be a 9-day fairy dancing with a flower basket, which was very graceful. Countless flowers flew and fell, and the surroundings of Chen Sunzi became a sea of flowers. Goddess scattered flowers? There was a sense of surprise in everyone's heart, very unreal, as if all this was in a dream. The appearance of miracles one after another did make them a little dizzy, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. The girl Daikyu stared blankly at Chen Sunzi. She never expected that this young man who seemed to be 2 or 3 years younger than her and rescued her by accident would have such a talent. Yaokai, come quickly. Sitting in the Tian Palace looking at Chen Sunzi's Queen Mother of the West, Yu reading www.uukanshu.com was shocked to hear that this voice has not appeared for hundreds of years. Yaokai is the name of each generation of the Queen Mother of the West. As long as she inherits the Holy Land, the original name will not be mentioned again, and it will be called Yaokai. The one who called her was the Queen Mother of the previous generation, who had cultivated extraordinary and became holy, because the time was approaching. She was in the self-proclaimed source of the gods. She had been hidden from the world for many years, and did not ask about the world, but now she was calling her. The Queen Mother of the West hurried to the depths of the Holy Land, which was a huge cave, extremely deep, and the light of the divine source faintly radiated. Master, The Queen Mother of the West stood in front of a huge source of gods with her hands down, with a respectful expression. He knew that this master was incomparably good. A long time ago, the cultivation base was the fortune-teller of Shengong, and he would call her every time there was a big event. That child is amazing. He was born with the legendary double pupil. He is a good seedling. Find a way to bring him into the holy land of Yaokai. The Queen Mother of the West was shocked. He never imagined that his master would say such a thing. Even though the young man was handsome and might have become a sage of the ancients, they did not accept men in Yaokai. In extraordinary times, such a young man with such a wealth of talents must not be let go. You must find a way to keep him, and even if you can't stay, you must have a good relationship. Besides, this Yaokai holy water has been in my holy place for thousands of years, and it already contains a trace of spirituality, and being able to be picked up by this young man can be considered to be related to my holy place. The most important thing is that 100 years ago, I vaguely felt the scene of life being sinking and bleeding and drifting. Bring new vitality to the land. Chapter 17, Yaokai Invites. The contemporary Queen Mother of the West has a dignified manner and an extraordinary bearing, her beautiful eyes flashing with strange colors, and there is a rare flash of shock. The corner of the future that his master said surprised her. He knew that this master controlled the part of the front word secret among some of the 9 secrets. As we all know, the former word secret can predict good and bad, and some people with advanced cultivation can even see a corner of the future and know the changes of heaven. Putting her down was very solemn. It was about the future of Yaokai Holy Land, and she had to take it seriously and didn't dare to be careless. I see. The previous generation of the Queen Mother of the West, who was sealed in the Shenyuan, nodded, then closed her eyes, and fell into a state of deep sleep again. The contemporary Queen Mother of the West hurried back, summoned many elders, and discussed this matter. She was quite surprised that most of the elders actually agreed with the practice of the previous generation of Queen Mother of the West. Yaokai really needs to be renovated. Although he is a male, he has heavy pupils, and is born with a talent. He is destined to have a bright future. Such talents should not be missed. Although our Yaokai has no competition with the world, but now that the great powers of the Eastern Wasteland have come out with mysterious physiques, it is time for our Yaokai to prosper. We can't let other Holy Land families specialize in beauty. The purple energy is coming 30,000 miles from the east. This is a sign from heaven, and this child has broken through in our holy place, surrounded by purple energy, and is destined to have a relationship with our holy place, and it is also the creation of this child. Many elders nodded in agreement, and they were very clear in their hearts that although Yaokai was indifferent to the world, it seemed to be aloof. But that is also relative. A holy land that has been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years can stand in the vast and boundless area of the Eastern Wasteland, but it is not possible to get along with other holy places and harmony. The holy land that can stand for 10,000 years and the ancient family are not fuel-efficient lamps. The prosperity of a sect not only depends on the masters of the older generation, but also the potential stocks of the younger generation are extremely important. Once the latecomers do not have an outstanding next generation, the great power will gradually weaken. What's more, this is a physique described in the classics. It only exists in the legends. In the classics, only a few words have been mentioned in one stroke. It seems that it has not officially appeared in the clear records in history. To a certain extent, it is rarer than the innate holy body Deo Fetus and Chaos body. Surrounded by innate purple energy, his future achievements. If he does not die prematurely, the worst achievement is also a saint. They even speculated that this kind of physique with heavy pupils has great potential. It can be compared with the strongest physiques in ancient times, and there is hope of proving the Tao and becoming an emperor. Such a talented and beautiful jade, how can they make them undisturbed and unmoved? I just don't know what the character of this kid is. It doesn't matter, look at the woman. The Queen Mother smiled and pointed to Daichu next to Chen Xuanyi, and said, the mother of this woman has an old friend with me, and this time she also came to join our holy place. Poor, the people who travel with her should not be of bad character. Everyone nodded. The girl looked extremely smart, restrained and radiant, and her bones also looked very good. Although it couldn't be compared with Chen Sunzi, it was still a piece of rough jade and was worth carving. On the other hand, on Chen Sunzi's side, the purple air on the horizon was gradually dissipating, the goddess scattered flowers, and the scene of golden lotuses pouring from the ground gradually entered the clouds and mist, as if everything was like an illusion. Everyone looked a little dazed and a little stunned. They had just experienced the birth of a miracle, and many people have not recovered yet. A ray of purple aura surrounding Chen Sunzi disappeared, but it actually merged into Chen Sunzi's body, constantly nourishing his blood and baptizing his bones. It didn't take long for his bones to be as white as jade after being baptized. And the bones were unbelievably hard, comparable to the sharp blade of a divine weapon. After being nourished, the body surface is crystal clear and lustrous, almost transparent, and shimmers with treasure. Afterwards, there was still a part of that hazy purple air, and it fluttered automatically. If the purple morning glow, it automatically appeared in the sky above the sea of bitterness, flowing with inexplicable rays of light. Afterwards, Chen Sunzi finally woke up from that state of enlightenment, and immediately fell into a circle on the spot. He just came back to his senses at this moment, and he had already absorbed a lot of the essence of Yaokai unconsciously just now. Seeing the pretty faces of so many Yaokai women, she couldn't help drenched in cold sweat. This special system killed people and lowered the purple chi, and inadvertently made him fall directly into the state of enlightenment status. If his thoughts were known to others, he would probably vomit blood with anger. The cultivator's epiphany is so precious, and he actually dislikes him for being unprepared. It's really human, it's maddening. When he came back to his senses, he clearly felt the small, clear lake in the middle of his eyebrows, which greatly improved his spiritual sense. Brother Chen, our holy master Yaokai has an invitation. At this time, a beautiful and moving woman appeared, shrouded in a faint brilliance. At first glance, it was very hazy, but her temperament was very dusty. As for Chen Sunzi, who was born with ancient double pupils, he could naturally see the original appearance of the woman in front of him. Her face was delicate, she was white and pretty, her eyes were full of autumn water, her red lips were crimson, and her icy muscles were jade bones. Chen Sunzi sighed inwardly. This temperament is estimated to be the legendary Yaokai saint. The Queen Mother asked you to come along too. The Holy Maiden of Yaokai glanced at Daichu. She spoke so gently. Her voice was gentle, like the sound of nature, like a warm wind blowing into people's hearts, touching people's heartstrings, with a strange magic power, which seemed to make people unconscious. She has a good impression. Daichu's eyes were calm, and of course he followed. Chen Sunzi's eyes flickered. It seemed that Daichu was not an ordinary child who joined the Yaokai Holy Land. As for the call of the Holy Master of Yaokai, he naturally has to go. People are under the eaves and have to bow their heads. What's more, absorbing the essence of Xianka's energy can be regarded as a favor to Yaokai, and he is embarrassed. Inside the Holy Land of Yaokai, the lakeside, lined with green trees, dancing butterflies, decorated with pavilions, full of poetry and picturesque, without noisy discussions, the Queen Mother of the West and a group of Yaokai elders are all sitting here, talking in a low voice, not knowing what they are discussing. Sitting on the throne, the Queen Mother of the West is graceful and luxurious, and looks calm and peaceful. Although she is a daughter, she has a majesty of its own, which makes people not dare to underestimate it. Xiaokaio. When the Queen Mother of the West saw Daichu, her majestic and dignified face couldn't help showing a soft smile of concern. After talking about it, Chen Sunzi finally understood the relationship between the Queen Mother and Daichu. Daichu seems to be the daughter of the Queen Mother's old friend, and this time she came to Yaokai to worship. Only at this moment did Yaokai Holy Land know that there was a problem with the teleportation array at the domain gate over the West Desert, causing many people to be teleported to various places inexplicably and disappeared. The Queen Mother of the West promised Xiaokaio that she would use the power of the Holy Land to help her find the news of the lost relative. After learning that Chen Sunzi had rescued Daichu before, the Queen Mother of the West was also slightly moved, feeling that her guess was good, the character of this young man was not bad, and her previous judgment was correct. And the Queen Mother of the West, and after Daichu finished talking about business, actually pulled Daichu aside. I don't know what to say. The laughter came from time to time. It seemed to pull the family. Let Chen Sunzi stand aside, and in the eyes of others, it seems a little embarrassing. But Chen Sunzi was very calm, although Chen Sunzi was a little scared at first, but now he has calmed down a little. He thought that Yaokai Holy Land would punish him, but now it seems that it is not the case at all. Although he was temporarily put aside, but from time to time there were glances, obscurely turned to observe him, and he was still aware of it. Oh, woman. On the surface, he looked indifferent, but secretly he looked at him like this. Chen Sunzi laughed in his heart, but on the surface he still looked calm and calm. The Queen Mother of the Yaokai Holy Land and the elders secretly admired in their hearts that although this young man looks young, he is very calm and does not change when things happen, deliberately neglecting him. In conversation was also a small test of his character. At present, it seems that there is basically no problem. Chen Sunzi, are you willing to be my Yaokai Holy Land? Chapter 18, Join Yaokai Holy Land. The Queen Mother of the West had deep eyes, and her tone was no longer relaxed and casual, but became very serious and asked solemnly. As soon as this statement came out, Chen Sunzi clearly felt that the surrounding atmosphere immediately became very dignified, very quiet, like a needle falling, except for the graceful Yaokai elders with indifferent expressions, as if they had already seen through everything. Yaokai Saintess and Daichu were both slightly shocked, with extremely surprised expressions on their pretty faces. Especially Daichu, his bright eyes widened, and his delicate red lips turned into an O shape, and he was stunned. Chen Sunzi couldn't help but be stunned when he heard the words. He never imagined that the people of Yaokai would actually invite him to join the Holy Land of Yaokai. He had imagined countless possibilities just now, but he never expected to invite him into Yaokai, because he knew clearly before that Yaokai had not accepted male disciples for so long, and today was an exception. Probably because of his heavy pupil physique and breakthrough in Yaokai Holy Land, which triggered the vision of purple energy coming from the east. Chen Sunzi had probably already guessed the reason why Yaokai accepted him. To be honest, he originally planned to go to the Zhoufeng of Taixuanmen in the East Desolate after the successful sign-in Yaokai, and practice for a while, wait for the time to come, and go to get one of the 9 secrets, the G-word secret, that can be 10 times in an instant. The magic of combat power has always made him yearn for it. But now, it seems that Yaokai has actually invited him. In his opinion, joining the Holy Land of Yaokai seems to be a good choice, and it will not affect his trip to Taixuanmen. After all, his realm is still a little low at this time. There may be unpredictable risk factors. On the other hand, compared to joining those desolate ancient families that are more interested in blood inheritance, and the various environments are more complicated in Holy Land sects, this place seems to be more stable, like a real cultivation holy place. After all, the people of Yaokai are relatively indifferent to the world, and they basically don't have to worry about being caught in the Holy Land to practice medicine and so on. Since I saw a group of beautiful girls from Yaokai passing by the tomb of the Demon Emperor before, they did not take the initiative to fight for it, but watched the fun from the side, and it is estimated that the people in this place are generally more Buddhist. In addition, Yaokai Holy Land has a pole weapon West Emperor Pagoda and the Emperor's classic West Emperor Sutra, which can provide him with a lot of security, and West Emperor Sutra is known as the strongest volume in the secret realm of the Taoist Palace, and also solved the embarrassment of the new round of Realm Emperor Sutra that is about to be less. Moreover, as a well-known holy place in the East Wasteland, Yaokai can also provide a lot of protection for himself, provide cultivation resources and exercises, and obtain the guidance of famous teachers, which can easily overcome the difficulties of early cultivation, with many benefits. It can be said that if Chen Sunzi joins Yaokai, it is equivalent to directly recommending Tsinghua University and Peking University, which covers the world. Moreover, there are all women here. If there is only one man like me, then the competition of the same will become zero, and as the only male disciple, it will be paid special attention. In that case, there will be fewer conflicts, and the path of practice will be more stable and harmonious, and it will not be as bumpy as written in the novel. For example, because of his handsome appearance and talent for cultivation, he is admired by women, causing jealousy and hatred of fellow men, and stumbling with the protagonist everywhere. At most, the Yaokai Holy Land woman is unilaterally jealous of him. What's more, in this world, with one's own talent, a powerful sect as a backer, and a sign-in system, as long as one doesn't commit suicide, one can certainly sing along the way, bravely and diligently reach the top. He has decided. Join Yaokai Holy Land? Chen Sunzi then remembered that the elder from the Holy Land of the Yaoguang was going to pick him up to the Holy Land of the Yaoguang, and he came here unexpectedly, so he also told the Queen Mother of the West about this concern. On the other hand, Queen Mother of the West smiled indifferently and reassured, "Don't worry, when you didn't go to the Holy Land of Fluctuation by accident, it was because of your limited fate, so you don't have to be grumpy. Moreover, Yaokai is like a family, and there is no need to divide each other. If you are a person from the Holy Land of Fluctuation, you will definitely be slandered when you hear this sentence. You took away such a talented and beautiful young man from the Holy Land of Yaokai, and the flattering sentence of family is like a family, and they have suffered a dumb loss." The Queen Mother of the West smiled and her expression was peaceful. At this moment, it made people feel very close, with majesty and gentleness coexisting. "Okay, I'll join in." It is good there was a gentle smile on the Queen Mother's face when she heard the words, and at the same time she was a little surprised. She didn't find Chen Sunzi's promise to be so straightforward, and she thought she would waste a lot of words. She knows that some talented young people prefer to be alone, and do not like the rules of the Holy Land world, and Chen Sunzi's agreement, no doubt, made her breathe a sigh of relief. Some elders also smiled and nodded at Chen Sunzi, very satisfied that Chen Sunzi could make such a correct decision in such a short period of time, and the energy of the immortal pond water that was lost before seemed to be nothing. They are all a family, and these Yaokai Zionki energy is absorbed by him, so it is nothing. Great, we will be the same family from now on. A surprised smile appeared on Daichu's small face, and his big eyes flickered, bright and moving. "Welcome." Standing on the side, the beautiful jade neck and beautiful bones are exposed. The pleats of the skirt are like snow and moonlight, flowing lightly on the ground, and the pull is more than 3 feet, which complements the more luxurious and feminine saintess of Yaokai. She expressed her appreciation for Chen Sunzi's participation welcome, but also to express their goodwill. Chen Sunzi nodded towards the two of them, and he was also in a happy mood. He was in the right place in Yaokai Holy Land, and this was also an important step on his own way of cultivation. Every decision of an ordinary person may affect his whole life. For practitioners, UU reading www.uukanshu.com is just as general. Report the Queen Mother to the Holy Land of Fluctuation to visit. The Ji family from the ancient family came to visit. The Zhang family from the ancient family came to visit. The Queen Mother of the West laughed dumbly, and said, "I didn't expect them to move so quickly. Unfortunately, the overall situation has been decided. It is destiny's choice for Sunzi to enter my Yaokai. Well, let's meet them for a while." The Queen Mother of the West stood up and looked like a beautiful woman in her 30s. Her face was beautiful and dignified, and her expression was peaceful, but she had the power of a Queen Mother. At this moment, her aura suddenly rose, and her majesty was incomparable. The majesty of the Lord of the Holy Land was undoubtedly evident. Chen Sunzi was taken down, and an elder was settled first. The elder warned him to practice peacefully, and he could tell her if he needed anything, and she tried to arrange it. Half an hour later, standing on a high-rise building in Yaokai, Chen Sunzi stood with his hands behind his back. This is his residence and the place for him to practice. Looking at the mountains and rivers in the distance, the green and beautiful mountains and rivers are filled with spiritual energy. The white mist is like a fairy land, very dreamy. Among the pavilions, there are pines and cypresses, and many beautiful women appear and disappear from the mist from time to time. Those are Yaokai. My disciple, this holy land is truly a country of daughters. Chen Sunzi couldn't help but sighed in his heart that a joke from Yafan at the beginning turned out to be true. He worshipped in a holy underground, and the see-through function of these eyes can be brilliant. In this way, Chen Sunzi began his cultivation path in Yaokai Holy Land. A month later, a gossip quietly appeared in Donghuang, which became the talk of many melon monks after dinner. Yaokai Holy Land actually accepted a male disciple. It can be said that one stone stirred up 1,000 waves. Chapter 19. Practice like this. The Yaokai Holy Land, which claims to never accept male disciples, actually made an exception for a young man, and the entire eastern wasteland caused an uproar. How many of the forces that can be called holy places are ordinary? The resources of the exercises are beyond the dreams of some loose cultivators, not to mention that this Jade Lake Holy Land has been produced by the great emperor. How many holy lands have had such splendor? Even if it is in the limelight for a while, it is said to be as powerful as the Holy Land of Fluctuation, but it is not comparable to the Holy Land of Yaokai. Although Fluctuating Light Holy Land also has the black gold cauldron with the pole weapon dragon pattern, it is still a little bit worse, because there is no great emperor. Not to mention some weaker holy places like Zifu Holy Land and Wanchu Holy Land. Among holy places, even among holy places, Yaokai Holy Land belongs to that kind of ceiling-level existence. Everyone knows that although the Yaokai Holy Land is relatively low-key among the holy places, no one will doubt his heritage. The extreme weapon Zawang Pagoda, the Emperor's classic Zawangjing, all show the brilliance of its inheritance. Not to mention a generation of female emperors. The Empress Shi, how amazing and brilliant she was back then. A single woman overwhelmed many arrogances of the same generation, and finally became a generation of queens. At the moment, many people have strange thoughts, and within a period of time, many men rushed to the Holy Land of Yaokai, wanting to worship. Not to mention the supernatural emperor's scripture, the temptation of the Zawangjing. It is said that the Holy Land of Yaokai, which is like a daughter country, is also a holy place that many male monks yearn for. After all, the women there are basically beautiful and beautiful, touching. And when I heard that those with double pupils were young, only about 13 years old, many male cultivators sighed at the sky and sighed that he couldn't live with me. It's better for my brother to suffer for you. But soon, these male monks hit a wall, and Yaokai Holy Land announced that it would not accept people for the time being, and let some monks and some simple LSBs who had strange feelings about the Emperor Sutra come to take advantage of it and return in disappointment. There are even some stubborn cultivators Puquaxin who think that the man who joins the Holy Land is not as good as him, and asks the Holy Land of Yaokai to give him a chance to fight against each other, so as to prove that he is more suitable for the Holy Land of Yaokai. Yaokai Holy Land has nothing to say about eating behavior, and doesn't even want to explain. After all, low IQ is contagious, and they are all swept out of the house, and there are many jokes in a while. Immediately after, there was even more shocking news. The reason why the Yaokai Holy Land accepted this man was because this man was born with a physique with heavy pupils and possessed the talent of a god. What's more important is that the purple energy came 30,000 miles from the east, and the natural vision came for this person with heavy pupils, which caused a big wave of rendering. Those with heavy pupils, I haven't heard of it. What kind of ghost physique is this? Can it be compared with the divine physique of the eastern wilderness? It seems that there has never been such a physique. Hihi, it's really not surprising that Dong Huang has a divine body, and there is one more person with double pupils, but I don't know what he is so powerful about. He can win the favor of Yaokai Holy Land, and he makes an exception for him. You don't understand this. The old man is a scholar of heaven and man, proficient in the past, present, and future. He is known as 100 Xiaosheng in the world of cultivation. According to me, those who know double pupils are not newly born physiques. There are also few words in ancient books. It has something to do with the chaotic years that disappeared into the long river of history. For a time, there were different opinions. It is understandable to say that people with double pupils are not known, but Ziki comes 30,000 miles from the east. It is a real auspiciousness, and it cannot be faked, because some lives are extraordinary, and even the sky will descend. Auspicious. No one would doubt the vision of a holy land, but they just don't know how far this person with double pupils can go in the future, and he has a strong interest in the ability of this physique. If the purple energy comes from the east, it must be the worst. A sign of being able to achieve the holy position. Everyone sighed in their hearts. In today's world, since the great emperor Wu Bei passed away, the Qing emperor has not been revealed, and his practice has entered an era that is basically considered to be the end of the law. And in the noisy discussion outside, Chen Sunzi didn't realize that he didn't know at all. Since he entered the Holy Land of Yaokai, he has been practicing for a month, ignoring the world. The sea of bitterness is boiling, the waves are surging, the life springs are flowing, the bridge of the gods is bright, and the mist is filled, and the realm of the bridge is constantly improving. As expected of the Holy Land, the spiritual energy is extremely rich, and a month is even worth a few months of ascetic cultivation in Lingxiu Cave, drinking jade nectar, eating Holy Spirit beasts. As the only male disciple of Yaokai Holy Land at present, he is truly doted on by thousands, and enjoys inexhaustible resources. For example, the vegetarian food is the vegetables grown under the essence of Yaokai's spiritual energy, and the meat food is some precious spiritual beasts that have been raised for many years. Even at the beginning, that boy Pangbo said every day that the crane, which was regarded as a treasure by Lingxiu Dongtian, was not a problem at all in the holy land of Yaokai. Even the place where he lives is a pavilion on the top of a beautiful mountain, like smoke entwined in the air. The spiritual energy is extremely rich. Even if Chen Sunzi lies still, after a long time, his practice can progress. There is such a poem to describe his immortal dwelling. The spring light invites me to walk in the clouds, and the emerald green screen is surrounded by water. Layers of ancient trees welcome visitors from afar. Chao Tianshen's brush to describe the three towers. The dream of a beautiful woman in the moon is 10,000 years. Looking back at the vast and infinite meaning, Qingfeng is scattered among the Zilan. Not only food, clothing, and cultivation, but the elders who passed down the West Emperor Sutra on weekdays would also teach them from time to time. He was originally talented in heavy pupils, and coupled with the teachings of so many famous teachers, his progress this month was so rapid that the elders who taught him were extremely shocked. He said that those with heavy pupils practice at an amazing speed. As a result of this, Chen Sunzi was regarded as a treasure by the Holy Land of Yaokai, and there was an endless supply of elixir, and even the Holy Master of Yaokai personally took out some elixir that had been treasured for many years, washed his hair and cut marrow for him, and consolidated his foundation. Stay far away from the mundane world, and climb the sky to see the world. Chen Sunzi sighed, and could not help but feel a little poetic. It was another ordinary day of practice. Chen Sunzi stood up. Although he was only about 13 years old, he was already quite tall. His black hair was like a waterfall, and he was simply raised by a jade belt, such as crown jade, with a smile on the corner of his mouth, like a young man banished from immortals. He looked at the distant mountains, and suddenly felt that his field of vision became extremely wide. Even the very distant scenery became very clear. Chen Sunzi carefully understood this change. Everything in the world, every grass, and every tree seemed to come alive all of a sudden. This is his long-term result of meditation. Moreover, since Chen Sunzi cultivated in the Holy Land, his mortal aura has become less and less, his own spirituality is beautiful, and his temperament has filled a somewhat ethereal feeling for no reason. I have nothing to do today. The elders specially gave Chen Sunzi a day off, and Chen Sunzi also plans to take this opportunity to visit the Holy Land of Yaokai. Unexpectedly, not long after I went out, I actually met the girl Generation Autumn. Chapter 20, West Emperor Pagoda in the Holy Land of Yaokai, in a pond full of lotus leaves and lotus flowers. The young girls swim in a boat on the lotus pond in autumn, and her cultivation base fluctuates, and she has already reached the realm of life spring. Obviously, she has improved a lot during this time. Daichu stood in the jade boat, dressed in fluttering white clothes. His black hair was as bright as a galaxy, his eyes were dreamy and charming, as if covered with water mist, giving people a dreamlike feeling. He looked to the side and was picking lotus pods. I saw Chen Sunzi, and the moment I saw Chen Sunzi, there was a strange color. Chen Sunzi looked at her with her eyes. His eyes were like clear water, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. You were finally released. Daichu's expression flashed a hint of surprise. The boat docked on the shore, and greeted Chen Sunzi. When Chen Sunzi heard the words, the smile on his face seemed to freeze in an instant, and black lines appeared on his forehead. What he said, it seemed that he had just released Seeing Man today, which really made him speechless. I came to you several times before, and they all said that you should not be disturbed in your practice. Daichu showed a mischievous smile. When he said this, Chen Sunzi laughed when he heard the words, "Are you going to take me home to treat my eyes?" Daichu was a little embarrassed to hear the words, but it was only fleeting. She naturally knew that Chen Sunzi had heavy pupils, a very rare physique. Naturally, instead of looking for you to treat your eyes, I came to look for you to find some cigarettes to smoke. Daichu's playful response also made Chen Sunzi feel speechless for a while, and she could hear it naturally. It was a joke and should not be taken seriously. The green hills are verdant, lush, and green, with waterfalls pouring down, like a 9-day Milky Way, fragrant spiritual grass everywhere. Auspicious beasts can be seen everywhere, making people feel as if they have come to a fairyland. Along the way, Daichu was introducing Chen Sunzi to all parts of Yaokai. Although Daichu and her started at the same time, he learned everything about this holy place earlier than him. During the visit, graceful and beautiful Yaokai women appeared from time to time in 2s and 3s, looking at Chen Sunzi curiously. They knew that there was a rare male disciple in their holy land, and it must be the little brother in front of them. Not long after, Yingying and Yan, groups of women appeared from time to time to look at this strange young man. Chen Sunzi sighed in his heart that he seemed to be watched as an animal, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. It was as if he had entered the daughter country, and the sight of spring was everywhere. The female nuns were like all kinds of delicate and bright flowers, all competing to bloom with each other. Some women are more shy, just glanced at it from a distance, but there are also curious and bold female disciples of Yaokai. Wow, this little brother is so handsome. Come on, give my sister a smile. Do you want my sister to find you a daughter-in-law? As long as you nod your head and open your mouth, I'll send someone over to you right away. There are also more daring women, who even said so, and even pulled over a good-looking girlfriend. At this moment, Chen Sunzi finally understood the situation of our elder Tang in the daughter's country, and he felt a sense of empathy. Flirting with Chen Sunzi and wanting to see Chen Sunzi's shy scene, it naturally does not exist. Although he looks very immature and innocent, he is a soul in his 20s after all. His face is very flat, and the ancient well has no waves. Instead, he smiled and said, "Okay, give me my sister." After that, he walked forward, preparing to pull the woman over. The women were startled and took a few steps back, obviously not expecting that Chen Sunzi would have such a saucy operation. "Brother, you are still young. Let's talk about it when you grow up." Not to be outdone, the women laughed a few words, leaving behind a string of silver bell-like laughter, and then Nana laughed in groups. It's all fake tricks that just talk but don't practice. Chen Sunzi was speechless and complained in his heart. These women are really not weak in their ability to talk. I didn't expect that the Yaokai women, who have always been known for their gentleness and moving, would also have such a bold side. You seem a little regretful. Daikayame glanced at Chen Sunzi in surprise and said so. How could it be? You read it wrong. I didn't. After walking around for a while, Chen Sunzi was a little disillusioned, said goodbye to the tour guide Daichu, and flew back to his residence after driving Shenhong. Next, it's time to inscribe the Dao mark. Chen Sunzi sat cross-legged on the futon, his eyes shone with a deep light, and his double pupils seemed to be opening up the world and repeating chaos. Before, I had already tempered the general outline of the tool, but there was no Dao pattern inscribed. Without this finishing touch, it also lacked a lot of divinity. The reason why he didn't engrave the Dao pattern before was because he lacked the opportunity to observe the imperial soldiers and the 9 secrets, and he didn't want to just find something to inscribe the Tao pattern. After all, this tool would accompany him for a lifetime. The more advanced the Dao pattern, the better. Chen Sunzi deeply understood this truth. In today's holy land, only the West Emperor Pagoda can truly meet his requirements. That afternoon, Chen Sunzi went to find the Queen Mother of the West. Do you want to watch the imperial soldiers inscribe the Dao pattern? The contemporary Queen Mother of the West glanced at Chen Sunzi in surprise and asked like this. Chen Sunzi nodded, and the Queen Mother of the West said with a little hesitation, "Yes, but I have to ask the elders for their opinions before making a final decision." The next day, the Queen Mother of the West and the Saintess of Yaokai appeared at the same time, indicating that most of the elders agreed with Chen Sunzi and agreed with him to observe the imperial soldiers. Don't miss the opportunity, this is a rare opportunity. The Saintess of Yaokai came. Here, Yu reading www.yuukangsha.com. Graceful figure, full breasts, held up the snow clothes with a few perfect curves, her waist was full of hands, and her legs were straight and slender. Chen Sunzi nodded, such an opportunity is not easy, and he will naturally cherish it. Okay, let's go over here. The Queen Mother of the West smiled and raised her hand, and a dazzling brilliance emerged. wrapping Chen Sunzi and the saintess of Yaokai to look into the depths of the Yaokai sky. Is this the West Emperor Pagoda? Chen Sunzi's heart was dazzled, and he looked at this extreme weapon made of the rumored fairy tears green gold in front of him. In the depths of the sky, the chaotic air permeates the air, and the West Emperor Pagoda is looming, ups and downs, as if the suppression was at the beginning of the creation of the world, and the falling silk fairy air guards the entire Pure Land. Chen Sunzi sat down, his eyes began to glow, and then he watched the imperial text on the West Emperor Pagoda and engraved it. Of course, at the current stage, it can only be engraved, and it is impossible to comprehend it from a distance, because the realm is too low, and Emperor Wen is really too mysterious to him. However, being able to get close to a pole weapon at such a close distance is a big opportunity. After all, some monks have never seen what a pole weapon looks like in their entire lives. It's done. Not long after, a happy look appeared on Chen Sunzi's face. The voice of the Tao was like thunder. If Hong Zhongdala resounded in his heart, a mysterious, wonderful breath appeared on the Taiji map. At this moment, the Taiji diagram of Emperor Wen was inscribed, and the two chi of yin and yang permeated, and then it evolved into the chaotic chi. The rhythm of Dao was diffused, and it seemed to be basically finalized, complex and mysterious, and contained Dao and reason. Boom! Just when the Emperor's text was inscribed, the West Emperor Pagoda seemed to tremble slightly and made a sound.